Hey everyone, it's your favorite ski mask wearing idiot. Magazines in Nerf. They allow for fast reloads, are relatively easy to carry, and are overall very convenient. But when you actually start playing games, you quickly find out that magazines are pretty finite. I vaguely remember playing my first games with CCNG, and midway through one game, I ran out of magazines from my Spectrum, and I was just sitting there behind cover like... Damn, when you run out of magazines, you're pretty much pseudo out until you pull out a secondary, get a fresh mag, or refill one. So with this video, I'm going to be doing a little bit of theory crafting on how to effectively manage magazines for Nerf. Also, check out the Cook County Nerf Group Discord server if you're interested. The invite link will be in the description. So let's talk about it. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is magazine capacity. Because of the single stack nature of most full-length and short-length magazines, the amount of darts an individual mag can carry tends to be under 30. So you can come into games with the mindset of, oh, I'm just going to bring so many magazines that I don't have to worry about managing them. That's certainly a mindset you could come into this with, but you have to take into account that high capacity magazines tend to be pretty big and long. So carrying a ton of Coda mags, for example, could be a little cumbersome, potentially limiting your movement and generally being pretty uncomfortable. Now you may hear that and go, okay, that's something I can deal with if it means I get a bunch of ammo, but once you actually start playing games, you may want to find yourself going lighter. Because I can tell from personal experience that once you start playing, running around, overexerting yourself, and maybe getting into awkward situations and positions, you may want to change up some of your kit and the amount of mags you're carrying. For example, I used to run 2 full-length mag pouches on my hip, but after a while of playing games and running my chest rig along with my belt setup, I figured it was best for me to drop the secondary mag pouch because it was uncomfortable, it got in the way sometimes, and I barely used the mag from there anyways. So I dropped it, exchanging one mag for more comfort. If you can deal with the bulkiness of carrying a bunch of magazines, more power to you, but for people like me, we need to find workarounds. So retaining partially used mags for later could be very beneficial. Of course, keeping magazines that have 1, 2, 3, 4 darts left in them may not be the best idea from a purely gameplay perspective, but you may find yourself having a moment of downtime where you can reload while retaining your mag with 8, 9, 10 darts left. The very simple way you can do this is by taking your magazine out, putting it into a dump pouch or a free mag pouch, and grabbing a new one. You can do the super tactical reloads where you take out a new mag and retain the old mag all in one motion, but depending on how comfortable you are with those reloads or the gear you're running, simplicity might work better for you. Managing your partial mags on your person will also be pretty useful as well, because when you reload you want as much ammo as you can, and if you grab a mag that you think is completely full but in reality is partially used, that might throw you off. For example, on my chest rig, whenever I'm reloading, I tend to grab the mag that is furthest to my left, and when I'm doing a tactical reload, I put the partial mag into the pouch on my furthest left. The problem with that is, if I grab the mag in a hurry, I might think to myself, oh, this is a full magazine. Of course, it isn't, and I end up running out of ammo sooner than I anticipated. So to prevent this, I either A, replace the pouches on my furthest right instead, that way as I work towards them, I think to myself, okay, here are the mags that have less ammo, keep that in mind. And I could also B, not place partials into a mag pouch, but a dump pouch. From there, I could either take the mag out later and put it into a free mag pouch, or reload directly from the dump pouch. Either way, the decision to use a partial from the dump pouch is very intentional, and there will be no confusion in your mind that this is a used mag. Another thing to keep in mind is that you'll likely find clear or semi-transparent mags super useful. These allow you to simply glance down at your mag and quickly tell which ones have less or more ammo, allowing you to decide what to do with them, whether you want to drop it on the ground, put it in a dump pouch, mag pouch, prison pocket, whatever you want to do. It isn't impossible to make that choice with opaque mags, but visually seeing the ammo a mag has left is very useful. Drum magazines could also be very practical to use. If you use short darts, currently you're kinda limited to using 3D printed drums that you have to assemble yourself, or long boy mags like Kodas or Tachis. But if you're a member of full length dart gang, you have plenty of options. Carrying drum magazines on your person could be very uncomfortable, but going into a game with a 30, 35, or even 50 round drum already in your blaster is an extremely promising idea. With the use of the drum mag, you can prolong the amount of time it takes for you to start grabbing mags from your person, which in turn will help you stay in the match for longer because it'll take you longer to run through a drum mag compared to your standard mags that you're likely carrying. Of course, drum mags have their own set of drawbacks, like some of them could be pretty finicky to load and the likelihood of you having feeding issues goes up. But if you could find a really decent drum mag for you to use, you may find it very useful to go into games with the drum mag already in your blaster. Another way you can manage your mags is by creating a spawn point stash of mags. If you're playing a game mode where both teams have an immobile spawn point, before the game starts you can set up a little stash of preloaded magazines that you can grab from and leave certain mags at when you respawn. If you're retaining magazines, you may find it very useful to take a moment while you're respawning to figure out which ones are partially used, leave them at the stash, and replace them with fresh magazines before heading out. And if you're the type of person to not carry a lot of mags into games, the stash may be even more useful for you. When you run out of mags, instead of sitting there like an idiot, you can beeline it back to spawn, grab whatever mags you can carry, and head back out. You can also communicate with your team to make a community stash that everyone on the team can grab from, of course assuming everyone is using blasters compatible with those mags. Now everything I just said is coming from a purely gameplay focused perspective, but magazine management goes beyond gameplay, because mags, on top of being very valuable for gameplay, are also literally valuable, and if you break or lose one of your mags because you didn't manage them well enough, that's money lost. So retaining magazines to avoid dropping them on the ground and risking them getting damaged or lost makes sense. Now I mostly play on grassy open fields where I don't have to worry about damaging my mags when I drop them, but depending on the location you're playing at, you may be playing on hard tile or concrete floors, and dropping your mags on the floor the way I do will likely damage the mags. So retaining mags, even if they're empty, will make a lot more sense in that scenario. But let's say you are dropping magazines on the ground all willy-nilly. If you're dropping them in places where a lot of people go to, like a piece of cover for example, other people or yourself could very well step on a mag and damage it. So if you are dropping mags, make sure you're not dropping them in high traffic areas like that. And if you notice a mag on the floor that you almost stepped on, grab it and slide it to the sidelines, because if you almost stepped on it, someone else surely will. Or instead of moving the mag away, if you recognize whose mag it is, you can hold onto it for them until the end of the game and return it to them. This is where marking your magazines come into play. If you drop your magazines on the ground, you run into the possibility of potentially losing track of your mags. Or even if you aren't dropping magazines, mags could still manage to fall out of your pouches without you knowing, and then you lose track of them. But if you mark your mags with paint, tape, or stickers, it makes tracking them down a bit easier. Because if someone holds up a mag and asks who it belongs to, you can easily tell if it's yours or not based on the markings. This is even more useful to do if you have more than one person using the same type and color of mag, because based on the personal markings, you could easily tell which ones are yours. For example, one day I brought my 2 red Omnia mags to a game. That same day, I brought back 3. While packing up, I must have seen the Omnia mag of another person and without thinking just slapped it into my bag. This could have been avoided if I had personal marks on my 2 mags, like some tape for example, to easily tell which Omnia mags are mine and which ones aren't. So that does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you have any questions or your own thoughts and opinions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I would love to hear them. So yeah, that's about it. See ya.